I'll shoot you straight. Some of the worst mistakes I see happen with homes that look like a great deal have foundation issues or cheaply remodeled or in a location you just can't change. This video isn't to scare you out of buying, it is to protect you. I'm gonna show you the red flags I tell my clients on a weekly basis, whether you're buying in the north suburbs, south suburbs of Austin, or anywhere really in Texas, and how to spot them before you go under contract. Watch the end, because the last point that I'm gonna make, buyers overlook this and it could cost you the biggest headache or the most amount of money that you ever thought about spending. If you haven't met me, I'm Steph Bartone. I mainly work in the new construction space, but today we're gonna talk about new construction and resale properties. I help people every week buy the right home, whether you're looking to build from the ground up or you're looking for the right inventory home. My goal is simple. No surprises after closing. Make the process as seamless as possible. My contact is in the description below and on the screen. I'm just a phone call away. Call me, text me. I'd love to help you. All right, let's jump into this. All right, number one is foundation issues and like the soil reality. The reality is in Central Texas, foundation can be an issue in so many different areas. Some areas have limestone or are heavy rock. Some is very soft soil that you need to be aware of. And it doesn't mean that you just can't buy a house in these areas, but it's something to be aware of so you understand what you're walking into. Now, when you're looking at resale homes, there's ways to know by getting an inspection or speaking to the seller to see, have they had any foundation problems before? Is there any settlement or movement in the house? And when buying new construction, there are ways to check the different areas. There are some areas, say on the east side of 35 down south, that sits on a lot of soft soil. And so we tend to see foundation issues in that area. Now, again, that doesn't mean that you can't buy a house. There's ways to take care of your foundation to help prevent some of these issues, but it's good to know. So these are just some things to look out for. There's ways to take care of your foundation that a lot of people don't know, but there are ways to help prevent the amount of foundation issues or the amount of settling in the future. So when you're purchasing a house, you always want to get an inspection done. You can get free foundation inspections done by a foundation company. You always want to look for certain cracks in the interior and exterior, whether it's the brick, whether it's the ground. There's certain things that you can look out for that can give you some red flags of the movement or settlement or some future foundation issues that may be coming up. All right, number two, cheaply built homes. I'm not saying that your house is just gonna fall apart if you buy a house that's only $200,000 or $300,000, because when I mean cheaply built, I don't just mean the price point. I mean some of the builders that do not do a great job that could cause problems down the road. And it also isn't always just about the builder. I've actually built with one particular builder that I love. They have a great product. They have that good mid-grade priced product, but I had one contractor that was just amazing and made sure nothing was missed. And then in a different city and area, I had a contractor that just was lazy and he did not pay attention to like the details. And so we had to stay more on top of him and make sure that things were getting done compared to the contractor over here, even though it was the same builder. So again, when I say cheap, I don't mean just price point, but they can go cheap on sloppy painting or the caulking, or maybe there was like a scratch in the floor and they didn't want to say anything. There's certain things that you really need to pay attention to, because some of these builders are slapping these houses up in 3 to 6 months. And yes, they can be a great quality. I've seen houses built in less than 6 months that are really great quality and they do a good job. But I've also seen a number of builders and or contractors that haven't done, I would say, the best to serve the client. Another thing to pay attention to is if you're buying in a flood zone. Now, whether that's a new construction or a resale, your insurance can be very expensive, even if, like, say the back 10 feet of your property is in the flood zone and you are required to get flood insurance. I always tell my clients to double check the FEMA maps, and if you need flood insurance, you can call your insurance agent and have them quote the insurance for you. They can also run a report to see if the property is actually required to have flood insurance and what that could cost you. It could actually cost you double the amount of insurance if you're not careful. But you might think like, oh, well, I'm probably not in a flood zone because I'm not near a lake or I'm not near a river, but sometimes there's a creek behind the house and they consider it a flood zone, or if there's water nearby and it has the potential to be in a flood zone. It's just something to watch and pay attention to, and make sure you ask questions when purchasing a new or resale home. Poorly flipped homes. Flipped homes are pretty common in Austin, especially when the height of the market in 2019, 2020 got super crazy. There were so many investors that came in, tore down houses and put up homes, or they gutted the inside of the home. And we see this everywhere, but some investors only spend, say, $10,000. They just slap up some really nice paint. Maybe they put like the cheapest floors in, and they're trying to make obviously the most money. And so you don't really see what's behind the scenes. Now, I know for me, I can walk in a house and I can almost always tell if the investor just slapped some stuff up and it's just not a good product. Now, on the other hand, I've seen some really amazing investment properties that are flips, but there's just some things you want to check out. You want to make sure that they permitted the work that they got done, and you can check that through the city, whether that's electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and things like that. You can make sure that it's been permitted by the city, because if it wasn't, and you go down the road a few years later, whether it's 2 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, and that part was never permitted, and the next buyer calls it out, well, you can't sell that house until it is up to code. So these are things that could cost you a lot of money down the road if you don't pay attention to. All right, number 4 is location. There are parts of the city, whether you're in the city or in the suburbs, maybe you choose a neighborhood and there's a busy road behind you, or maybe you didn't know, but for instance, there's a neighborhood right down the road that's a beautiful neighborhood, but there is a super noisy train that runs through that neighborhood about 3 times a day. And unless you're going to see that house at that time of day, you may not know about it. There's things to know and pay attention to, and maybe it doesn't bother you. Maybe you used to live in New York City or Chicago and lived on like right behind the subrails, and it just doesn't even bother you. But somebody like me that is not used to trains or super loud noise, and I'm a light sleeper, like some people are just super heavy sleepers and it just doesn't even bother them. There's different ways to reduce the noise, but just think about trains, busy roads, rail systems, airports. Say you could be close to the airport and you hear planes flying from 5 a.m. to midnight. So those are just some things to think about, pay attention to, and really understand again before you purchase your home. The next one to pay attention to is old roofs, hail damage, and insurance. I would never buy a house that's got a super old roof on it. Why? Because if you're buying a resale property and it has a 15-year-old roof, you buy the house, maybe you move in and you have some issues that like in the next few months, your insurance company is not going to cover that. So what can you do before going under contract? You can have the seller see if they can get a new roof through their insurance. You can see if the seller will pay for a new roof before you purchase the property. Also with hail damage, there is some areas, say like Round Rock and that northwest area, like Brushy Creek area, and even some like south, they've gotten a lot of hail and wind damage. And I'm talking like softball size hail that's like messed up the siding and has gotten like, you know, big holes or has missing shingles in the roof. If you're looking to put an offer on a house and you go under contract, you go through your inspection period, and the inspector calls out the roof and says, look, there's been some hail damage, you may want to get this checked out. Ask the seller to call their insurance company and see if they can get that replaced so you go buy your new home with without the stress of having to worry about a older roof. And it's a good opportunity to be able to get yourself a new roof. Last one is the west facing backyards. Now here in Texas, our summers are super hot, which means if you have a backyard that is west facing, and maybe you have a pool or you have an amazing even covered patio, but you don't have a ton of trees, you're going to be baking. You're not even going to be able to enjoy your pool or your patio. Now there's ways to like get coverage, whether it's trees or pergolas or, you know, extended covered patios to help out with the sun, but I do think it's something to really pay attention and understand if you plan on using your backyard. Now, there are some of my clients that they don't even care about the yard. Like maybe they have dogs and they just need it for, you know, for them to run around. So it's not a big deal for them, and that's totally fine. But if you do love to entertain, you love to host, you plan on having like an outdoor kitchen or a pool, you may want to think about which way the house is facing so you understand, you know, how much sunlight is going to come into your backyard and if you can actually enjoy it. That is the gist of this video. When I say never buy these types of homes, that doesn't mean don't ever buy a home, don't ever make an investment. What I mean is just pay attention to some of the things that I mentioned in the video. Be aware, have an expert on your side so you can make sure that you make the best investment for you and or your family. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, I'm your girl. My name's Steph Bartone, your Austin suburb realtor. I help families just like you every week. My number is on the screen. Call or text me. I would love to help you out. Whether you're looking to move in 2 months or 2 years, I am here for you with any questions. I am your resource. I hope you got value out of this video, and I will see you on my next video. Peace out.